certain time that I would almost halfway give you some credit for all the shakings that we're seeing in payout, because we were used to these structures, these series, these events that were happening year after year after year and no changes. And when you came in with the stuff you're doing at Mansfield, it kind of maybe halfway inspired some other guys to come in out of left field or out of here, out of there, and put on something and do something as well. I think it inspired a lot of guys. It's funny we're talking about competing events. If there was anyone who's been inspired in the dirt late model ranks to pay more and to get big events going, I guess the only one that's out of left field would be this XR series that's popped up out of nowhere, paying big money, big is yearly earnings for certain series, only so many events, and then they put on this all-tech race. Talk about that whole deal. I'm kind of circling around there, but it seems like you did kind of inspire people to put on stuff, and then it looks like somebody who put on something is kind of halfway slated the Dome, although it is very far away. You are having y'all's record car counts, I believe, but just talk about that whole scenario and inspiring left field promoters to just start putting things on and try to make some changes in the game with payouts as well, so it seems like it's somewhat hand in hand.
Well, I believe that for sure, and I think it's fairly obvious to maybe you or me, but I don't think you'd get a Barry Braun to admit that I've inspired him to do anything.
Well, nobody on. But we are in the ego wars of the world.
Yeah, and
the
I get
racing
that,
world
and
is
that's
ego
fine.
wars.
Yeah. So I actually, on the XR side of things, it's the money that he's doing and paying, and although it's not like I've sat here and spent a lot of time trying to understand the finances of it all, because it's not my business and I really don't care, but it is surprising the amount of money and how he's able to make it work, because I know at a lot of the events I'm still a promoter at heart, even though I do less of it. I still look at events, and one of the first things I do is look at purse and look at the attendance and look at sponsorship, and I start adding it all up, and just that's kind of part of my DNA. And there's a lot of times where I don't see how it adds up for him, but hey, he's still doing it. So honestly, credit to him for that. But some of the decisions probably that he makes, I don't agree with, but it's his decisions to make, not mine.
Well, how do you feel about this decision? You kind of, hinted to the Nashville and Mansfield sprint car deal kind of on the same date, kind of slated that event.
It's definitely the same. I mean, he would probably not admit that it's the same, but it is. I mean, I know it is because I've heard from very credible sources that it is. I mean, there's so many other dates that you could have done this event. I understand during the time of year where, there's always been this statement in the industry of like, there's no available weekends. So of course I got to book a race on top of this or that. Okay. That you understand, but December, really? Like, come on, dude. Like, there's many other weekends that something could have been done between November. I mean, there could have been a race several different weekends, but that one was chosen, in my opinion, for a very direct reason, and it was not with good intent. So as I, rewind back to the beginning of this conversation, I don't like people that do that. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's for the racer, and I certainly don't think it's for the fan. Is somebody going to go down there and race for $50,000? Absolutely, and that's great. And I actually do love that part of it, but every other aspect of it, I think is wrong, and I don't agree with it. But
now there have been,
and I know this because he came to the Dome last year, actually, and made some comments, and I didn't like them, and I made some back, and it wasn't much long after that all of a sudden there was going to be a race during the same weekend as the Dome, and that's fine. Again, don't really care. I know we're going to have people in our stands, and he probably won't have very many in his, and it's just the way it is.
Well, and in respects, the field at the Dome, it has been very regional. So it obviously didn't affect the car counts for your event, and the fans haven't really been regional. I mean, it's one of those sites. If no one's ever went, it's insane to see just dirt racing in a Dome. Now, I think from being there the last few years, the one issue that the event has had is literally the track. and I've heard a lot of the high profile names of late model racing. That's one of, the Davenports or the Chris Maddens who get mad when they bend a fender. That's one of the areas I think that Braun was trying to not necessarily exploit, but kind of give an option to as well, because obviously if you go to the Dome, you better be ready to Tyler Carpenter it and go in there and flip for a win. That it is a rough, racing surface.
That's what makes the Dome different, though. And never have I sat here and tried to push or promote that we have the best racing surface or best race on the planet, right? You're never going to see that, because I'm not an idiot, and I know what product that we're putting out, but it doesn't make it a bad product. And I think in most cases, you hear more people that are not racers. If there's one individual that's on site next weekend that should or could complain about a racing surface, it's the competitors. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't hear a lot of complaining from competitors. It's always fans, and it's always people that assume that because the track is rough that, these guys are not happy. But explain to me why these guys keep coming back. If they're so unhappy about a rough surface or they don't like it, they still keep coming back. Because I have an analogy for this. Like, we can go race, right, everywhere in the country. And anymore, you can run for good money pretty much every weekend, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And I look at it like you're having steak every weekend. Well, every once in a while, you just want to have some lobster.
Right.
And the Dome is lobster.
Right.
So don't encourage people to only eat steak. I'm saying you really, our sport needs different things.
Right.
It needs innovation. And trying to push away from that, I think, is not something that we should be encouraging anybody to do. I think all the teams we have love this event very passionately, and they love it mostly for all things not track surface. Every year we do try to do things to help with the surface, and I'm confident in the surface this year and how it'll race. But the Dome's different. I'm proud it's different, and it's part of it.
This is how we ride. This is how we do. Riding mud, sliding up.